In this video, we'll configure basic monitoring for Azure VMware Solution using the Landing Zone Accelerator. And we'll start here at the enterprise scale for AVS GitHub repo in the brownfield folder. And I'll put a link to this in the video description. And we're going to deploy this AVS UI Accelerators all-in-one portal experience template for AVS monitoring and logging. So we'll click Deploy to Azure. And that will launch the template and collect some details. On the Azure Core Setup tab, we're going to provide the subscription we want to deploy into, the region that our private cloud is located in, and a deployment prefix. All the resources that get created with this template will have this deployment prefix and a dash prepended to their names. We'll use AVS as our deployment prefix. And we'll click Next for monitoring. We'll choose Yes, we will deploy the monitoring module. We have some choices here. First, we can choose whether or not to deploy the Azure Workbook for AVS. Azure Workbooks are a really cool way to consume dashboards, alerts, syslog, VM data all in one place. But the AVS Workbook relies on data collected by Arc for Azure VMware Solution. And that's only available in preview in a couple of regions. So for that reason, we don't recommend deploying that yet. When that feature gets out of preview and is publicly available, we'll create another video showing how that works. For now, we will opt out of deploying the Azure Workbook for AVS. Under AVS Dashboards and Alerts, we can configure a number of things. We can say that yes, we will deploy an Azure dashboard. We'll enable service health alerts, and we'll enable Azure Monitor alerts. Then it'll ask us for our private cloud name. We'll select that, and an email address to send alerts to. That'll be used to configure the alert group. And if we scroll down, we can customize the thresholds at which the Sub 2 warning alerts are sent. We'll keep them at the default of 60% for now. Then we'll click Next Logging. We will configure diagnostic settings on the AVS Private Cloud object. This will allow us to send syslogs to a storage account or a log analytics workspace. We'll select the private cloud, and we'll choose Send AVS logs to a log analytics workspace. We'll send activity logs there as well, and we'll create a new workspace for this. Let's call it SDDC monitoring. We could choose to also send logs to a storage account, but we don't have a need for that. Log Analytics gives us some handy out-of-the-box queries, and that's enough for our purposes here. So we'll click Review and Create. When the validation passes, we can click Create, and the template will deploy. It'll take about 15 minutes to deploy these resources. When the deployment is complete, we'll come back and look at what was deployed. Okay, the deployment is finished, so we'll go home, go to Resource Groups. You can see a new AVS-operational resource group was created to host all the resources that were deployed as part of this template. We click in there, we can see that we have an action group created that has the email address that we specified. We have a number of these metric alert rules, each one configured as specified. This is the CPU usage per cluster alert rule. It'll trigger a Sub 2 warning when effective CPU average goes over 60%. We have the SDDC monitoring log analytics workspace, and we have this shared dashboard. We'll click through there real quick. Dashboard, and you can see we have a high-level view of all of our key metrics: percentage CPU by cluster, memory usage by cluster, disk usage by cluster. From here, we can click into our private cloud object. If we scroll down to monitoring, we can look at the alerts, alert rules. Here are all the alert rules that we saw in the resource group. Here we can see they're applied to this object. If we go back, we can go to diagnostic settings. We have this setting defined for logs to workspace. If we edit that, we can see that we are sending VMware syslog information and all metrics to a log analytics workspace, the name of which we specified with the template. One more thing to look at, let's search for service health. And under health alerts, we can see a new service health alert was created for all event types, sending an alert to that email address that we provided with the template. So that's a quick way to configure very basic monitoring for Azure VMware Solution. Now, we don't recommend stopping here. We suggest integrating this with your existing enterprise monitoring and management infrastructure, but this is a good place to start.